And so here's our session outline. The purpose of this informational session is to provide an overview of the program, present its guidelines, share important dates, and answer any questions you all may have. And so on the right side of the screen, you'll see the activities that we have for today and the duration. I will say for the duration, we're going to be very flexible. We're going to just see how this space is going to move with these different portions. But here's a general framework of how things are going to play out. We're going through our welcome and introductions. Following that, we'll have our organization overviews. Then we're going to get into the eligibility, background, and application process of this granting program. We're going to have a Q&A session, a questions and answer section for the information that we go over before that. A short break, emphasis on short, 5 minutes, and then we'll go over the part 2 narrative questions and video interview. Another question and answer portion. We want to make sure that we're hearing your questions and making sure that we're answering where we can. And then we'll have some closing remarks. Next slide, please. So as you all know, I'm the Grants and Inclusion Manager at WESTAF. I'll be your main facilitator for today. In terms of the Cultural Sustainability Program, I was a part of the core team with members of other partner organizations to help solidify the guiding principles and the shared fundamental elements of this program. I have a background in music and arts administration. I've had an LLC of my own at one point, so I'm excited to help deliver this program to you all. And now I'll pass it off to our Director of Grants, Awards, and Programs, Anika.
Aloha, hello, half a day, Turo, everyone. Those who are joining from the Pacific, I'm here with you. And those who are joining from our states around the region, I am Anika Tene. I'm the Director of Grants, Awards, and Programs at WESTAF. And my role is one, first of all, who's super excited that we're able to do this work together, joining in with Wallace and our colleagues at the other regional arts organizations. My role is really around envisioning the program, program design, implementation of the program, and making sure that all of the moving parts are as we expect, and really looking forward to questions and having the opportunity to receive all of your applications. So thank you so much, and I will hand to my colleague, Marcelina Ramirez.
Hi everyone, Marcelina. I am the Grants, Awards, and Programs Coordinator here at WESTAF, and for the Grants and Programs team. I'm super excited to be here with everyone. I really will be kind of doing a lot of background and admin work, a lot of answering your emails, facilitating conversations, any tech needs that you'll have during this meeting and during your application process. I will also be helping with just different kind of facilitatings when it comes to one-on-one meetings and group sessions, which we'll get to in a little bit. But very, very excited to be here and doing this grant in collaboration with the Wallace Foundation. So very excited to meet everyone. And let's do it.
Thank you, Lena. And I also wanted to highlight that we do have 2 other members of our department of our grants, awards, and programs who won't be the main facilitators for this exact granting program, but I did want to name Ashanti McGee and our grant specialist, Sierra Scott, who contribute greatly to our other grants and programs that we do as a department. And also, I invite you all, the participants, to share a little something about yourself in the chat. I see people are already doing it, so thank you for that. Sharing your name, your organization, and where you're zooming in from. And we'll just take a second to let those populate in. Hello, welcome everyone. Hola, ¿qué tal? It's nice to see a lot of representation from the different states. Thank you, everyone. Next slide, please. So again, we're WESTAF. We're facilitating our version of cultural sustainability, and we're celebrating our 50th anniversary. We are a regional arts organization, and we focus on 16 states and jurisdictions in the West. And for more information about this organization, our organization, I put some links at the bottom of here. And for more information about the U.S. regional arts organizations or the U.S. RAOs, you can also go to that website below there. So cultural sustainability is made possible by support from the Wallace Foundation in partnership with the 6 U.S. regional arts organizations. And we have a representative from the Wallace Foundation who's going to just share a little bit more information about this. And so I'm going to pass it over to Bahia.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
Bahia.
everyone.
Mhm.
Hi. Hi, everyone. I'm Bahia Ramos. I'm the Vice President for Arts here at the Wallace Foundation. We're a national foundation headquartered in New York, and our mission is to foster equity and improvements in learning and enrichment for young people and in the arts for everyone. You're all participating in what is now called the Advancing Wellbeing in the Arts Initiative, which is looking to fund arts organizations founded by, with, and for communities of color to advance their well-being, enhance understanding of their contributions to community, and ultimately help to build a more equitable and sustainable arts system. So what does that look like exactly for us? We are a research-based foundation, so it's important to us as we carry out our grant-making activities that we help grantees both advance the work that they're doing on the ground, but also share and create and share insights from their work that can help the sector as well. And when we were speaking to leaders from the arts ecosystem as we were developing the Advancing Wellbeing in the Arts Initiative, it was very clear that we needed to turn our attention to the work and to the work of small organizations under $500,000 in size. We recognize that the work that you're doing suffers from a historical lack of investment, along with being underdocumented when we're talking about representation in the evidence base that guides funding and policymaking within your respective communities. And so we wanted to contribute what we could to help amplify the legacies, practices, and work of small organizations. And when I talk about under $500,000, for us, that means anywhere from $1 to $500,000. We have two kind of like standards for this work that we're doing in partnership with WESTAF and the other regional arts organizations, and that is to explicitly support organizations of color and explicitly support organizations that represent a wide range in terms of size and formation of organizations. So the field feels wide open, and we're hoping to have a reflection that is authentic and honest from the field as we explore this work. As I mentioned, we do carry out kind of ways to help us learn and understand and share evidence and documentation with the larger field about the work that we do. And I have my colleague Nina Matlin here, who is the consulting research officer on this work, who will share some insights on how we're going about asking the questions of both the regionals and the field and exploring the work that we're doing in the hopes that we create enough information so that we are able to influence funding on both the private and public side as we move forward. So I'm going to turn it over to Mina to try to keep things brief. And I really, I thank you for having space for me to share our objectives for today. And I really look forward to what results from WESTAF and its community partners. Mina?
Okay, thank you, Bahia, and thank you to the WESTAF team for putting together this information session, and to everyone who's joined here today. I'm Mina Matlin. I am based on Nisenan land in the Sacramento area. And as Bahia said, I serve as Wallace's consultant and research officer in the arts. So for the learning component that accompanies that's embedded in the cultural sustainability program, as Bahia shared, there are multiple areas of learning and goals for the research affiliated with the overarching initiative and the cultural sustainability program, of really, illuminating and lifting up the diverse strengths, needs, and goals of arts organizations of color and their communities. And then to be able to, demonstrate to policymakers and funders how investments in the field, in arts groups, BIPOC arts organizations that have the variety of operating forms and models and working with their communities, how those organizations can really enhance and wider community well-being. So for this particular initiative, we've partnered with a group, Creative Equity Research Partners, that has long focused on the work of BIPOC arts organizations. And one of the, I think, principal researchers is actually here today, Anda Shao. And so I invite her to wave to you all if she's joined us. Her team will be leading and partnering with each of the 6 regional arts organizations around really kind of 3 questions, 3 areas of focus of the research. First, looking at how the RAOs develop and adapt equitable grant-making practices to reach, fund, and build trust and relationships with grantee populations that could be newer to them or not previously supported by them. And then really to better understand kind of this community of the BIPOC arts field. So looking at any regional variations between the different RAOs in their grant-making approaches, who they fund, and the characteristics of applicants and grantees under the program and their relationship with their communities. And this is really to lift up what we know is a very undocumented group of organizations that are really critical to the arts ecosystem as a whole, but have really largely not been captured in the research literature. So most of this research, you may be as participants less directly aware of it, because the research team is really aiming to minimize any burden on applicants and grantees to the program. And so much of the information that's collected, the CERP will be, the Creative Equity Research Partners will be working directly with the RAOs and really tracking kind of the guidelines that are developed for the program, listening to the RAOs as a whole, attending a sample of information sessions like this, or later technical sessions for grantees in the program, as well as looking through in the aggregate applicant data and grantee data through grant reports. And so here we hope to really minimize burden on those of you that will be participating in the program, but that's what the research will look like. I think I've captured it all for now, but I look forward to questions in the Q&A. And I'll pass back over to Bahia.
Thanks, Mina. I think we are finished as Wallace, and I'm going to pass it back over to Josh.
Thank you, Bahia and Mina, for sharing that information. There's a lot of research and intent going into this project, so thank you for this collaboration and giving more details to our attendees today. So now we want to transition back into the WESTAF specific program details. This program is open to all organizations of color within the WESTAF region that meet the criteria. The WESTAF region is made up of the following jurisdictions and states: Alaska, American Samoa, Arizona, California, Colorado, Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands, or CNMI, Hawaii, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, New Mexico, Oregon, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. For the intent and purposes of this program, we define an arts organization of color as a for-profit or nonprofit organization, including fiscally sponsored organizations, with operating expenses under $500,000. and at least 3 years of arts and culture programming. And just a note on that $500,000 aspect, we know that there have been funds that have been received for recovery or relief that are outside of your normal operating budget and expenses, and those will not count against you or penalize you. And in our application process, we're asking for information of that nature. Also, organizations also must meet at least 2 of the following criteria: led by a person of color artistically and or administratively, excuse me, that word always trips me up, predominantly in service of Black, Latine, Asian, Arab, Indigenous, Pacific Islander, and or Caribbean communities or another community of color, and then founded by and for a community of color. So this program requires that the majority, if not all, of the staff and leadership in selected organizations are people of color. So in preparation for launching this program in our region, WESTAF hosted online discussions. We call them stakeholder roundtables with regional participants who met the program's requirements. And so this revealed region-specific needs and aspirations, and the participants advocated for a more inclusive and equitable arts and culture landscape, detailing multi-year funding, general operating support, and tailored technical assistance, these being the key priorities for organizations of color. Unique regional needs also included the need for tiered funding, staff burnout support, mentorship for organizational leadership, and in-depth community collaboration. And so we used this feedback, we gathered this feedback, synthesized it to improve the design of the WESTAF program. Next slide. Thank you. So WESTAF wants to learn how organizations of color create healthy, joyful, and thriving environments for themselves and their communities, and to help them continue this important work, And so to achieve this, the program includes funding up to $17,000 per year for selected organizations. And this program is 2 years long, so grantees will receive funding at the beginning of each program year. And we're going to share the timeline to show a little bit more of what that looks like. We also have virtual groups, spaces to share ideas, find solutions, connect with others, and network. In-person retreats, more networking, times to relax, work together, and learn from each other. Help along the way with monthly chats with us for guidance and advice. And then also doing studies, so research to better understand your organization and how we can help. So WESTAF expects to grant a total of $1.1 million throughout the region. And if you're doing the math for that, that's approximately 2 grants per state or jurisdiction. And so here's our application process. We expect and hope that a lot of organizations will want to apply for this program. So we're trying to keep the application process simple and easy. And we also want to make sure we're supporting all types of all kinds of groups and art forms. And so the application process consists of 2 parts. The first part is to efficiently identify organizations aligned with our program goals. And so this is open to all eligible organizations. It involves providing basic information about your organization, the contact information, who the main point of contact is, the communities you serve, and your artistic focus. And so this is more so for us to confirm eligibility, gain an initial understanding of the diverse range of organizations in our region. And so part 1, again, seeks to understand your organization's core identity, and this information will help us select organizations that represent the diversity of the WESTAF region and demonstrate our commitment to cultural sustainability. And part 2, it allows for a more comprehensive assessment of the most promising applicants, ensuring that selected organizations have the greatest potential that they're the right fit to benefit our program and support. So it's going to be a little bit going into your organization's community engagement a little bit more. And so we anticipate inviting 50 organizations from part one to participate in the part two stage. And that's going to dive deeper into your work, impact, specific needs, and it will also have narrative questions and a video interview component. And we can go to the next slide from there. So as you all know, part one is open. And so here are just some tips to prepare for that. So make sure you gather your information. Again, it's going to be a lot of contact information, collect your organization's legal name, number of staff, your website, social media links, your financial data, and any relevant documents. And then make sure you are ready to identify your needs. Consider the areas where your organization could benefit the most from additional support, and it will help you articulate your grant request as well. And then also connecting with recommenders. If you're invited to part two, you will need 2 letters of recommendation. And so it's a good time to start thinking about who would be the best to speak to your organization's impact and potential. So for part one, we will be asking for those recommendation contacts, but we won't reach out to them until we won't reach out to them unless you are invited to complete part two. So both parts of the application will be administered through our granting site. And so you will click this link and then it will go to a page with a header that also has a drop down for additional resources. And I'm going to share my screen and also show what that looks like. But I'm just wanting to go through that one more time. If we can just throw that back on the screen. Thank you, Lena. So yeah, you will have additional resources. And then from there, once you're toggling through those resources and those links there, then you will either create a new account if you've never applied to a grant or program on this specific WESTAF Go Smart account, or you will simply just log in. And so I'm going to show what that looks like now. I'll share my screen. Bear with me 1 second. So this is what the WESTAF Grants GoSmart.org main page looks like. When you go to additional resources, it'll also show you how to make a new user account information. Again, there are different types of WESTAF Go Smart sites, and this one specifically has the cultural sustainability program on there. And there's also the program guidelines that are located here. The part one application overview, what we're mostly going over today with more information, the program glossary for a lot of the words that we're saying, and also some frequently asked questions there to help you. And so once you're comfortable with that information and you're ready to get started, you will log in by typing your username and password. And this is what it will look like when you log in. It will say Part 1, Cultural Sustainability. And when you scroll down, this is where you will see where it's ready to start. Over here is where it will say the information. So June 3rd, 2024, that's when it opened. July 1st, that should say 2024, 11:59 Mountain Daylight Time is when it will close. So I'll start the application. Again, this is going to be a lot of contact information. This is where you can keep track of what you still have to complete. I know it looks like a lot, but it's not too much diving into any narrative information. It's simply asking for basic information. So your legal name, what type of art form focus area, contact information, number of staff and volunteers using only numerical digits, organization eligibility, what we just talked about, that criteria, that's just confirming that. Our recommendation letter, again, if you're invited to part 2, that's only when we'll reach out to the contacts that you put here. Your needs assessment, the top 3 things your organization needs the most, what's going well for your organization. This also talks about if you wish to become an application reviewer or advisory council, and answering these questions will not affect your application in any way, since this is separate. Also asking how much of the amount are you requesting, because that's up to $34,000 or $17,000 across the 2 years. And then it also mentions the Wallace Foundation research study, which we briefly talked about earlier. And then you will submit that page. So again, basic information that it is asking for. And now, Lena, I'll give access back to you to share the timeline.
Thanks, Josh. I'm gonna get us back on the screen.
Thanks.
Alrighty, so for the timeline, you can see here that the Part 1 application has opened on June 3rd at 2024. We are now in the Part 1 information session. There is another one that will be happening at 5:30 Mountain Daylight Time if for some reason you would like to hop on that one as well. And we do have office hours. So the application Q&A group sessions will be June 11th through June 28th. Monday, Wednesday, Friday will be application feedback or one-on-one sessions. Those will be Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And then Tuesday, Thursdays will be the individual one-on-one sessions from 2 to 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Those will be placed in the chat as well as the follow-up email we will be sending to everyone with the recording of this session. If you would like to get one-on-one time with us just to kind of review over a little bit of your application, or we'll be holding the group Q&A sessions. So that'll be where you're in a room with about 5 to 15 other applicants asking Q&A questions about your application in order to get more clarity. And we found that being in a big group like that, it helps because someone might be asking the same question that you have. And so you just get that re-clarification. The application will close on July 1st, 2024, 11:59 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. That's very important, especially if you are in our CMEI, Hawaii, Pacific jurisdictions or Pacific time. The internal decision period will be between July 2nd to July 23rd, 2024. The selected organizations invited to complete Part 2 of the application will be notified by July 29th. 2024, and you will be notified if you were not chosen to go on to Part 2 as well. When you do apply through GoSmart, please make sure to check your spam in this timeline, as often GoSmart does go to spam if it's not one of your registered emails within your inbox. So go ahead and also do that as well. Part 2 of the application will open July 31st. Part 2 information session will be August 7th. The office hours will be between August 8th and August 27th, and those are pending, dependent on who moves on to round 2. And Part 2 of the application will close on August 28th, 2024 at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. This timeline most likely will not shift. It's very unlikely, but if anything does happen, everyone will be notified through the GoSmart system. The application reviewer period for Part 2 will be September 4th through September 22nd. The WESTAF final decision period will be September 23rd through September 27th. And the grantees for Part 2 will be notified September 30th, 2024. The full grantees for this program will be announced on October 7th, 2024. The grant payments, 50% will be October 2024 and October 2025. The monthly check-ins begin October 2024, the dates and times to be decided. And as you can see on the screen, the quarterly virtual learning groups will be November through August 24 through 26. The advisory council sessions will be January and June 25 and 26. And the in-person retreats will be summer 2025 and summer 2026. And as I said before, these are the links that these sessions applicants are invited to join in the Q&A with other applicants. Each attendee will share any questions they have in the chat, and WESTAF will answer all questions in the order they are asked. Typically, applicants benefit from hearing the questions other applicants have. These sessions are a maximum of 90 minutes. The one-on-one sessions with WESTAF. These sessions are designed for applicants to meet one-on-one with WESTAF team members to ask specific questions related to unique aspects of their organization, get feedback on their application. Applicants should come prepared. As these sessions are 15 minutes in length, and that is a hard and fast stop time, just because of the fact that they are back to back. Alrighty, we're going to go into the Q&A session. I'm going to start with at the top from one of the first questions that were asked. And I'll pass Josh for those answers, or Anika if she feels to jump in. Okay, our first question, and then if you would like to ask your question live, please go ahead and raise your hand. Our first question is from Eva Romero in Arizona. What if you are doing a capital campaign? Is that included in the organizational budget total?
Thanks for that question. I wonder if you can unmute and just share a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for taking my question. So our organization is currently underway with a capital campaign, and it's not really part of our general operating costs. It's just temporary to the building that we purchased. So I was wondering, mostly our CPA divides up the organizational budget from the capital campaign budget. Would that be acceptable in terms of just trying to figure out if we're under that 500K limit?
Yes, it sounds like you're saying your capital campaign is a temporary process or a temporary campaign. And so if it's not aligned or a part of your operational budget, then that's fine. We're looking for your operational expenses.
Got it. Thank you. That's really helpful.
Thank you.
The next question that was asked, I think, is important to answer. Anika did answer it in the chat, but I think it's important to answer live with everyone. Does having an advisory board 100% people of color fulfill, led by a person of color artistically and or administratively? Anika answered, we are looking for a majority of staff and board. There are questions on the application that address this, and I was wondering if Josh and Anika could elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see those questions. We ask questions around your staff and your board, volunteers, part-time volunteers, full-time volunteers. We really want to, not just for this question of, are we an organization of color, but also understanding that even in this range of $1 to $500,000, that we really want to make sure that we are representing the spread of organizations that could be that could find themselves within that range, so that we make sure that we're tiering, that we are noticing where there's trends in terms of a lot of volunteer-led organizations and things like that. So the majority is simply that. The majority, this program is for organizations of color, and this is the definition that we have that Josh has shared already.
Here from Kelly Hemphill, we are an organization that is revitalizing our Indigenous language. Would we qualify?
So this, I'm not sure if I understand the question. I think and please unmute if you want to clarify. This program is for arts and culture organizations, small arts and culture organizations. And so we are not though there's a place where you have the opportunity to talk about your art forms, your artistic discipline, we're not defining or limiting how arts and culture shows up in your work. We're very excited for organizations that may not define themselves as arts organizations, but are doing that work, are doing the work of culture bearers, and making sure that that culture continues and is seen and heard and felt. And so just from the little bit that I heard in that question, I think that you're fine, but if there's anything else that you want to unmute and share, that will be great.
And while we're waiting for that, possibly, I did want to read this question out loud because I do think it's important for grantees to know. Is it possible to be granted both the Cultural Sustainability Grant and Arts Here? Will applying for the Cultural Sustainability Grant affect the decision of Arts Here or inform that review process? And Josh replied, no, applicants that have received funding from the Arts Here program will be ineligible to move forward with the Cultural Sustainability Granting Program. The Arts Here program will be conducting its selection phases, while cultural sustainability will be in its eligibility confirmation stage. So applicants should know the results prior to part 2 of cultural sustainability, and so will we.
Thank you. And we can spend time in office hours if anybody wants to just clarify anything about that. I think Sierra, our grant specialist who's overseeing Arts Here more. For those who don't even know about Arts Here is sort of a parallel program that is federally funded. And so the result of Arts Here will be coming out before the results of cultural sustainability. So you can submit your application and no, we won't say, oh, they applied for this, so we're not going to choose them for that. The review process is completely separate, but if you are notified that you have received Arts Here, I think you'd probably make the decision as that comes up first. And quite frankly, has more financial support with it, that you would take that opportunity. But you can apply for both. You will not be awarded both.
We have a question coming in from Colorado. Would we qualify to retroactively use funds? Our festival will be in September this year, and I saw that the grant is awarded in October. Or would we only be able to use the funds for the following year?
I'm just reading this question. Use funds. So the funds are awarded when they're awarded. This is general operating support. It's not project-based. So when you receive the funds, which would be up to 17,000 each year, then you're using those funds as you see fit. I hope that helps.
We do have a similar question. And please, as a reminder, if you are going to answer a question live, please raise your hand so we can keep track of that. If employees are paid through a fiscally sponsored grant, you need the budget for that grant in addition to our normal operating.
Sorry, I was just scrolling to see the question because I want to make sure I need to like read it. We just need your operating budget. That's all that we need. We, and Josh mentioned the stakeholder feedback sessions that we held, and some of our participants in that session are here on the call. Hello. We are trying to make this as liberatory process as possible. We're learning because we're all been sort of indoctrinated with lots of rules and regulations. But we are really doing our best to make this as light of a burden as possible. So really what we need is your normal operating budget.
I do see a hand raised here. Excuse me if I say your name wrong. Momodu Jobe.
And Momodu, if you're speaking, you're muted. Not sure.
Sorry.
Oh, muted again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon. I have a question. Is the $1 to 500,000, is that the budget limit an organization should have to qualify for this grant, or what is it? I must have probably missed it during the discussion. What is it about?
Yes, that is. So this grant program is funding organizations with budgets under $500,000. So in actual fact, we should say $1 to $499, 999. So yes, that is the budget range for the organizations.
So when you say budget, do you mean just the overall budget or just operation costs? Because sometimes you have budgets with other costs and you have budget just for operation costs. For
Operating
staff,
cost.
we just include program costs, correct?
We may need to speak with you in office hours session just to hear more about the specifics of your organization. Happy to hear more.
Because when we do a budget, there is a section for program costs and there's a section for operating costs, meaning staff salaries and benefits and all the stuff. So yeah, we can talk, but I just need to have that clarified before, just for me to know where we even qualify to begin with to participate. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Our next hand raised is,
thank you.
I say this wrong, is Alicia Curley from Utah.
Hi, Alicia Darisol here from Curly Me in Utah. I am interested in the other commitments if selected to be in the program. You mentioned that there is the quarterly meetings, if we choose to be on the advisory council, all of those things. And then the retreats, the in-person and online. Are we responsible to get ourselves to the in-person retreats? And if so, if not, where are you, do you know where they'll be? Will they be on the mainland, or will they be in Hawaii? Just so we're aware.
Yeah, those will likely be, for the first question, you are not going to be responsible for getting yourselves there as grantees. And those locations are being determined. In all likelihood, they will be, as close to the ocean as possible to make it easier for grantees that are traveling across waters. But those locations have not been decided. Those are conversations that we'll be having along the way. And in terms of the other responsibilities, we'll talk about that in the next little section. So we'll be getting to that.
Thank you.
Sorry. We're going to be taking the last couple of questions. So I'm going to do Dorinda Martin and then Leanne Lamb in the chat, and then we're going to move on to our break. So Dorinda Martin.
Hi, yes. Thank you for taking my question. I was writing, I'm doing a lot of writing of everything you were speaking of, and so I missed where you talked about, so I want to make sure I understand this. Is it 2 people per region that will be awarded 17 grand? Is it only 2 people per area? I just want to clarify that.
So it's 2, so we WESTAF cover 13 Pacific jurisdictions, or and then I'm sorry, 3 Pacific Islands, and then 13 states. And so that's 16. So our intention is to fund at least 2 organizations that meet the criteria eligibility in each state or jurisdiction. The funding is multi-year. So at the beginning of each year, there will be a payment of up to 17,000 for a total of up to 34,000.
Okay, thank you. And then you mentioned at least. So is it possible it could go beyond just two?
I can't say without seeing all the applications. I mean,
Gotcha. Okay.
part of the part one process is for us to see. So there's so many of you today that we're meeting for the first time, which is so exciting. But we want to see, and we want to make sure that we're representative across the region. So that's really what part one is about, making sure that we have that representation. And then we'll have to take it from there.
Okay, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and then actually we are over time by 2 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and give us a 5-minute break. Please be back at the hour.
Thank you, Lena. Thanks, everyone.
Cause you tears, go ahead, release your fears. My, oh my, eh, eh, eh. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Got to be bold, got to be bad, got to be wise, don't ever sad. Got to be hard, not too hard. All I know is love will save the day. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Now I'll pass it to Josh, who's going to take us over a brief overview of what part 2 will look like.
Thank you, Lena. Again, welcome back, everyone. I hope that short break was a little restorative. For this portion, we wanted to give some information on the Part 2 application, but we won't dive too deeply in this section because we're going to have another information session for those invited to complete Part 2, which is going to take place later this summer. However, in part 2, which is by invitation only, there will be written questions, and there will be 4 narrative questions that let you dive deeper into your organization's story, the values, community impact, and engagement, and really getting into how this grant could help you thrive. And a little bit of touching on the rubric, we'll be looking for concise responses that detail out the mission, your values, the opportunity for learning development, community impact, and how all of those work and intertwine together. There will also be a video interview. And so we'll have a 5-minute video interview to get to know you better and hear about your passion for your community. And so we're encouraging to share stories, examples, anecdotes, or anything that shows us how you deepen your connection to your community and your excitement for the work you do. And again, for the rubric, we'll be looking for your passion, sense of community, your ability to talk about how you create positive change. And so we're really excited about this video interview portion because we know that some are more speakers than they are writers, some are more stronger writers than they are speakers. And so this is a chance for us to actually see you and bring some humanity to this grant application, hearing you talk about your organization, hearing the passion, the joy about what you're doing in your work. Oh, and I forgot one more thing. Sorry about that. So the specific Part 2 application questions will be posted on the WESTAF grant site by the end of this week for your viewing and preparation. That's one of the things that we learned from our virtual stakeholder roundtables when we were creating this program is that people wanted the questions way in advance so that they can prepare. And so that's a part of the liberatory grant making point that we're doing is we're going to release those Part 2 questions even before Part 1 is closed. And so tips for a strong Part 2 application, be clear and concise, not using using plain language, avoiding jargon, using, again, plain language, and telling your story, sharing your passion, your challenges, your successes. We want to know all of it. Focusing on the impact, highlighting the positive changes your organization has created in your community, demonstrating your commitment, showing us how your organization is led by and also or serves communities of color. And we encourage this for all of our granting programs across the board, but making sure you proofread carefully and ensuring all information is accurate and error-free. We understand that mistakes can be made. We're human, but we're also going to tell our application reviewers to not focus too much on the grammar and the formatting and things like that. However, it is the applicant's job to make sure things are as clear as they can be and as concise. And now that being said, again, that was just a quick overview of our Part 2 application, and we'll have another informational session specifically for those that are invited to complete that section later on. And now I'll turn it over to our director, Anika Tanay, to talk about cultivating community building and peer learning beyond the grant.
Thanks, Josh. I wanted to quickly, before I hop in there, to do a quick poll. Let's make sure you can see the poll. So please select the best answer for can you see the poll? Yes, because I see answers are populating. Great. So your organization type, please pick one answer, the best answer for you. So if you're a 501c3 nonprofit, a fiscally sponsored nonprofit, other nonprofit that we may not be thinking of, a LLC, for-profit, fiscally sponsored for-profit, or other type of for-profit. So I'll just give us a few more seconds for that. I see about 78% have participated. Thank you. Yeah, there's a question. What is you are an LLC? I guess I'm just trying to say, are you a for-profit? Well, let me see the question fully. What, I think you're saying, what if you're an LLC but fiscally sponsored? I think you could choose other for-profit, or if you feel like one of those two best, maybe fiscally sponsored for-profit fits you the best. I think it's completely up to you. And this is just kind of a flash quiz to get a sense of the room. So can y'all see the results popping up, or you can't see them? Josh, do you see the results, or do you, oh, no. Do folks see the results live? Cannot see the results. Okay, thank you. I think we've got a lull. We've got a lot of us here, so I think I can face it forward now. Share results. So just for transparency, I want to make sure that we see the results. I think you can see the results now. So the majority, as I suppose we expect, are nonprofit, and then fiscally sponsored. That's great to see, because in a lot of our programs, we're not able to fund fiscally sponsored programs because of federal funding. And then other nonprofit will be great to hear about that as we go along, as we get to know you, LLC, and then other for-profit. So thank you so much for those. Okay, so yeah, I want to talk a little bit about cultivating community, and I've seen some of it already happening in the chat, saying, oh, would love to hear more about your organization and so on. And that's, or seeing friends that you know in this space. That's exactly what it's about. We believe that an important feature of sustainability is not just finances, though obviously that's very important, but is the community that is built, right? And so we've creating spaces for virtual groups, and that's will be on a quarterly basis. I think all of this is in the timeline. We have not determined the amount of time. I don't imagine it will be more than a 2-hour quarterly session to kind of share ideas, find solutions, connect with each other. We will have some facilitation take place. And for those of you who have opened up the application and you've seen that prompt, the needs assessment section that talks about, you know, what's going really well in your top 3 things that are going really well in your community, in your relationship with your community, the communities you serve, and then the things that you really need support with. Those answers are going to really support how we are able to design these cultivating community pieces, right? So we want that information. And then as we go further in, particularly when we get to the part 2, invited applications, there's more questions there that are going to help us design. We really want to co-create this program with you. And we don't want it to be, you know, an excessive burden on time. And that's something that we talked about in our roundtables, making sure that, you know, as this program is general operating support, that you are able to designate funds so that you can participate. You know, if you need someone else to take over your responsibility so that you can fully engage in X or come to the in-person retreat, that type of thing. So quarterly virtual groups, we anticipate that the in-person retreats there's 2 of them, 1 per year. We imagine that there'll be 2.5, 2 to 3 days. Those will be supported fully, and that will be a representative of your organization that participates. Again, we want to co-create that space with you as we go along, and you'll see in the part 2 questions, we really want to understand, like, what are the problems of practice? What are the problem solving that you can do in community with other organizations? And so that in-person time is time for that, kind of like a laboratory where you all can come together in smaller groups around different problems of practice that you can solve together, learn from each other across as well. And then honestly, some time for wellness. We know that, in this work, we work. And we want to make space that there's time for wellness, because thriving, as Wallace is interested in, really requires that there's some wellness involved. And so that's why we are specifically using that word retreat as opposed to convening or conference or anything like that. We want you to know that this is a time of refreshing in and amongst colleagues with some facilitation and space. And then the help along the way, kind of monthly chats with us and our coaches that we hire based again on what your needs, what needs bubble up that we learn from the application process. And these are just simple check-ins guided by you and the things that you might want to check in on that either have specific things to do with this project or something else completely, a challenge that you're having or something you want to check in, bounce ideas. It's just to have that space. But again, not to overburden. And I think that earlier on, in terms of studies, everything from one lens for us as WESTAF, every part, the applications, even these conversations in these information sessions, our office hours, the retreats, everything we will be in a posture of learning. We want to create and be in a learning community. So that word studies is probably a little too serious, if I could, than what I meant there. But research, we want to understand on an ongoing basis how we support your organization. And Wallace as well is going to be conducting its work, but not in a way that's invasive. They'll be observing some of our sessions. They'll be utilizing the reporting process to understand the research questions that they have. So I hope that that's helpful in terms of the other aspects of the program. I hope that we don't see them as requirements of the program. In order to give you money, you've got to do this. It's that this is a program. It's not just a transactional space, but it's really this opportunity to build community. And because this hopefully is the beginning of relationship that will go on to other projects as we learn and grow and storytell, that as we know more about you and your needs, we can reach out as grant makers and to our funders to say, hey, this is the need in the field. So that is all that I wanted to share about that. I think we're back to questions.
I'm going to go back up a little bit to some questions that we had earlier that we didn't get answered. So I'm going to get through as many as possible. So if your questions are not answered within this session, I'm going to put our email at the bottom, so go ahead and feel free to email us as well and sign up for one of those Q&A sessions as well. From Vicky Westover. Is a collective of organizations, for-profit and nonprofit, and individuals who produce an arts program eligible for funding. The program is co-directed by a person of color. The collective has a fiscal sponsor.
Sorry, Elena, can you read that one more time while I'm just scrolling up for it? Oh.
Is a collective.
Is a collective of organizations, for-profit and nonprofit, a collective who produce an arts program program is co-directed by a person of color, the collective, yes. Based on what you said here, yes.
We have Mark Oliver. We are very small compared to an organization of 500,000. Roughly, we are 30 to 50,000 a year for 6 years ongoing. So is our financials taken into consideration, or is it based more on the work you do and have accomplished?
Financials are definitely taken into consideration. I mean, part of the eligibility is based on the prongs that Josh shared, right? It's the under 500,000, it's the definition of a small organization of color, it's that 3 years of programming. We're not weighing one against the other. We do want to make sure that we have a representative spread. So we wouldn't want a situation where we only have organizations that are in the 450,000 range that have 10 years of programming. You know, that's not what we're looking to do. We're really wanting to have a representative spread. And that's really what this first round is about, seeing all the applications that come in and doing that work of really, I think, somewhat the hard part of really making sure that there's representation across.
Our next question is, hello, thank you for all of this. Our organization's revenue is over 500K in the most recent fiscal year, but our expenses are under 500K. Are we likely to qualify?
Josh, do you want to respond to that?
A little bit down in the questions, and I can repeat it one more time. Hello, thank you for all of this. Our organization's revenue is over 500K in the most recent fiscal year, but our expenses are under 500K. Are we likely to qualify?
I would say yes. We're paying attention to operating expenses under 500K, and we're also going to ask for some financial details too, so we can take a look at the budget and do the work on our end to see if the organization would be a right fit.
How often will grantees be required to report back?
That has not been determined. I think it's something that we definitely want to be in conversation with grantees about. So again, a co-created process.
We have a question right near the bottom from Kyoko Yoshida from San Francisco. So does it mean that two like-minded, culturally specific nonprofit organizations, both led by persons of color, can apply together for one spot? The total operating budgets of the two orgs is under 500K.
So does it mean, thank you, Kyoko. We need one organization to apply. And so there may be, for like this example, or even the collective example, there may be an MOU that you all create together. But in terms of the structure of our application management system, our grant management system, we need one application, we need one organization to apply. That said, both in this example that Kyoko is presenting, that both organizations could apply separately. And then, you know, maybe that strengthens the opportunity, strengthens the chances of one receiving, and then you all have a mutual understanding. But we are looking for one application from one organization, if that makes sense.
One more question. If awarded the Community Accelerator Grant, can we apply for this one?
I'm not familiar with the Community Accelerator Grant. I don't think that's not a part of our grant program, so it sounds like it's with a different organization. So that would not prohibit you in any way.
All right, if anyone has any last minute questions, please put them in the chat or raise your hand. And Josh did put the email in the chat, culturalsustainability@westaf.org. I will put it in one more time. Was there?
Thank you for that, Lena. So yes, we're excited to learn about your organization. We encourage you to apply, and if you require any accommodations or support during the application process, please reach out to us, culturalsustainability@westaf.org. I see we still have a couple of more questions coming in, and we still have time, so we can read those too.
Yeah, we have, can you clarify the criteria? The 50 orgs will be selected for part 2. And for that one, again, it just depends on who applies. It's not necessarily, it's really the criteria that was listed of being organizations of color. But Josh, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, so part 1 is mostly eligibility checking, seeing what organizations we believe would have the best potential for the right fit of this granting program. And from there is when we will invite 50 organizations to complete part 2. So it's going to be by invite only that we select 50 organizations from the eligibility in part 1 to complete the part 2 application.
Is there a section rubric separate from the eligibility guidelines?
Yes, there is. There is a rubric, and we do have that. That could also be put on the WESTAF grants Go Smart site along with the part 2 questions by the end of this week. So we're going to finalize those and then also have those up by the end of this week. Thank you for asking that.
And I will read this next question out loud, and get answered it. If the program takes place in Arizona, can the applicant be incorporated in New York? And Anika answered, the organization needs to be incorporated in our region, meaning even though you do programming in Arizona, if you are incorporated in New York, you will have to apply through New York or Mid-Atlantic or what USRAO that you are incorporated with. We are for the WESTAF region only. If you apply through WESTAF for part 1, you will be deemed ineligible for our region, but you will be welcome to apply through the region that you are with. And then I have a raised hand from Mamadou Jobe.
Yes, I know I had that at the beginning of the discussion. We said it's a multi-year grant. Does that mean, do we have to apply every year, or it's just roll over to the next year? Or do you have to apply for each year?
No, you don't have to apply for each year. Multi-year for us just means that you receive the funding each year, and that there's programming, there's activities over each year. So you do not reapply.
Okay, thank you.
So it seems like we're coming to a close. Josh, over to you.
Yep, thank you. So thank you everyone for being here and hearing about WESTAF's cultural sustainability. Again, if you require any accommodations or support, please reach out to us at culturalsustainability@westaf.org. That website over there will also take you to where our grant is administered, as well as have the program guidelines and the other information that you may need. Please remember that if you need more support, that you can also sign up for our office hours, our one-on-ones as well, and those links will also be posted. This slide deck will be sent to you all, and this session has been recorded, so that will also be sent out. All the information is going to be sent out, and I believe that's it. Thank you all again. If my colleagues have anything else to say, please share.
I just want to say thanks to Josh and Lena. I want to thanks to Mina and Bahia for being here. And you can always come back for the next session in like, what is it? An hour and a half, 2 hours or so, if you need to. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.